I'm Gareth Evans. I'm one of the co-founders of Dixon Baxi Evans with Simon Dixon and Apurva Baxi. We're a film production company and I produce and write on our films. I first started working with Simon and Apurva back when Dixon Baxi was just Simon and Apurva, and I was working in commercials as a producer, so I used to rep them for producing commercials, and we started working together and they kind of tempted me across to exec produce some of their brand projects. The first one we did together was the rebrand of Channel 5. And as we worked more and more together and as we enjoyed it more and more, I gradually found that everything else was being squeezed out to the point where we were working together all day, every day it seemed, and it didn't really make any sense not to formalise that and turn that into something. We had this shared vision that we all wanted to work in film. It was what I'd started off doing. I used to be in film and then television, then commercials, but it was always part, for me, of a journey towards film, and it was a long-held passion for Simon and Apurva. So we decided, as part of our formalisation of the work we were doing in the commercial space, it would be with a vision to create a film production company. It was an incredible process, bringing Tiger Raid to the screen, but also just bringing it into production was an incredible process in and of itself. You learn an awful lot of humility in the filmmaking process because it is a brutal process, and it's one where you have to do all of your growing up in public. There's nowhere to hide. The work that you're doing when you're just sort of testing ideas and getting a foothold in the process, because it's so expensive by the very nature of it, has to become work that goes out into the world and has a commercial future and so forth. So for us, Tiger Raid was always about not being some guys who were talking about making films, which are, you know, there are many people in that position, particularly in commercial creative industries. There are a lot of people who would like to do that because a lot of people grow up loving movies, being inspired by movies and so forth. So there's all sorts of, you know, guys and girls in coffee shops and whatnot around the place talking about making films who aren't necessarily doing it. And we were very bored of having conversations with people where they tarred us with that brush. And we wanted to be people who were really doing it out there in the world making stuff. So it's very important to us to get a marker down early in the life of the company, that we were making things that reflected how we saw the world, things that I guess had two parts to the vision for everything we want to make. We want to make things that are for big audiences, that are accessible, that people can engage with, that are genuinely entertaining, but we want to make things that have a real point of view, add something to the conversation. I think we feed a huge amount from the commercial space, which is where we all have essentially cut our teeth, into how we conduct ourselves in the film space. And that is fascinating in that I think lots of people in the film industry look at how we do things and the rigor with which we do certain things and the scale to which we try and do certain things, and are quite surprised. They're almost taken aback by some of the elements of the commercial process that we bring in, and we find that very gratifying because it makes us weird and different. You know, we're always glad to stand out and not necessarily do what people are expecting of us. So that process and that kind of creative rigor has stood us in great stead there. But on the agency side, I guess Simon is a much stronger conduit than I am for that, in that he is very much working on Dixon Baxi projects all the time. Filmmaking in the future of Dixon Baxi has a tremendous role to play as a creative inspiration and outlet. So a space for us to play, a space for us to exercise ideas that perhaps don't have a space in commercial projects and client-driven projects, but allow you to find a home for that creative expression. And it's also, I hope, got a big role to play in the prestige of the agency, that as we make bigger and more visible and more impactful projects, the fact that we are so deeply connected and a part of Dixon Baxi will, I hope, speak very well to Dixon Baxi. So the biggest learning really from Tiger Raid, and the thing that you want to immediately put into practice, is a sense that the coherence of the presentation of the film is absolutely crucial. The singularity with which that proposal can cut through not just a conversation between you and a consumer, but you and an intermediary who's going to engage with another intermediary, who's going to engage with a local cinema or distributor, who's finally going to engage with a customer in Australia. And if that idea and that presentation of the film is at all open to corruption, that's what will happen. It's like the effect of water on I don't know what that analogy should be, but a leak in your bathroom. If there is a crack, that crack will be found and that thing will change. And so the robustness of the single image, concept, idea, pitch that is absolutely irreducible has to be absolutely irreducible when it leaves the studio, because otherwise that's going to get interfered with and degraded over time.